DeWalt, Hikoki, Milwaukee. Something's missing. G'day guys, welcome to another one of my power test type reviews where we put 4 brands, DeWalt, Hikoki, Makita and Milwaukee, up against each other in a series of tests just to see which one has the best punch. And I'll go through a few other details as well just to give you a quick overview of nail guns. But as you will see, there is one missing out of those 4. For years now, Makita have been promising a cordless nail gun and we still haven't got it. And by cordless, I mean battery only, where there's no gas, no hoses obviously. So that's why there's no pass load in this test, because it's got gas cartridges. If you want to see pass load up against these, you'll have to go watch another video. Complain down below before you go, of course. It all helps. So yeah, Makita have so many patents on nail guns. They have come up with all sorts of systems. They keep saying it's just around the corner, but they've been telling me that for 6 years and I can't wait any longer. I'm gonna have to finally do this test. None of these tools you see before you have been sent to me by any of these companies. So I am not beholden to any of them. I will say what I want. But if you are interested in purchasing any of them, down in the description will be some links. You click on those and you make any purchases and stuff. It helps me out, means I can buy more of these tools and do more reviews for you guys. We're going to do a similar scoring system as we have with the other tools you will see on the board in the background there. If you haven't watched any of those, I'll put links to them down in the description and up in the corner and stuff as well. I've covered them over just so it doesn't ruin the results for you. I'm going to change up the scoring system slightly because we've only got the 3. So the top tool in each of the categories I sort of come up with as we go along will get 3 points. The next one down will get 2, and the one that comes last will get none. Brutal, I know. Now these are all framing nailers. If you don't know what a framing nailer is, you're probably not watching this video. But just in case you are, you would use one of these to build a house. If you are putting up framing, for instance, you would use a framing nailer. These fire nails up to 90 millimeters or 3.5 inches long. That's what you use for nailing most house construction type materials. These are all 18-volt tools, but they do work slightly differently. These two have a sort of air cylinder type system, and this one has more of a spring system, I think. I haven't pulled any of them apart to have a good look at them. But this one definitely very different to these two. This one also needs wearing in before it gets to full capacity. These two, I don't think you need to do that, but this one has been well worn in. This I've had for a long time. This one has been worn in as well. And this one has only fired, wow, however many I fired the other day. So it still needs a couple of hundred nails fired, so I'm going to go do that now to get it to the point where DeWalt say it is at its best. I normally wait until after I've done my power tests before I start putting points on the board, but we're going to look at some of the features first, chuck a few points up, and then we'll do the power tests, and then maybe we'll chuck a few more points up, and we'll wrap it up. So first up, weight. Weight is a big issue with these things. You've got to hold them above your head, you're using them all day potentially. You don't need to weigh these things to know which one is the heaviest. This is definitely the heaviest when you pick it up, you can tell, but I did weigh them of course as well. This one coming in at just over 4.4 kgs, this one just over 4 kgs, and this one just over 3.7. So, 3 points, 2 points, no points. Let's have a look at the magazines for the nails and how easy or not it is to load them. The Milwaukee and the Hikoki, you can put the nails in first. The DeWalt, you have to cock it before you can get the nails in. So with the Milwaukee in, nice and simple. Pull that back, locks in place, easy peasy. Works very well, very quick, I like it. Hikoki, the same, in they slide, pull it back, and you are done, ready to go. The DeWalt, however, requires you to cock it first, pull that back, which isn't the nicest, doesn't slide and click all that nicely. Put your nails in, and then release this to lock them in place. So these two have the nicest system in my opinion, and this one also feels a little bit flimsier, the DeWalt. So I'm not sure which one of these two I like the best. It's tricky. It's tricky. might be the Milwaukee. Oh, I don't know. It's tough. So I'll give these two 2 points each. And the DeWalt misses out. But what about capacity, I hear you say? Let's check that out. Which one of these can hold the most nails? Essentially though, if you can't take 2 clips of nails, then they're all the same basically. But we'll count the nails anyway. We'll start off by putting a full clip of 40 nails into each nailer. Now I'm going to be using these nails for the tests later. They're 90 millimeters long, they're galvanized, they are Echo brand framing nails. So each of them takes one of those, no problem. Now, will it take a half one again? So that would be 60 nails. I can see that that's not going to work. You can't go past this point here with the Milwaukee. So we have a problem, not going to happen. What about the Hikoki? Nearly said Hitachi there. Well, not quite going to happen either. What about the DeWalt? Look at that. Just get it in. It says it takes 55 nails in the magazine, but I clearly just put in 60 and it seems to be locked in just fine. Is that plastic? Oh, fail. The guide for pushing the nails is plastic. This piece in here has contact with the nails. Plastic. Far out. We have 3 metal ones on the Milwaukee, one coming over the front to stop anything from popping out, and 2 pushing from behind. That's very good. And the Hikoki with the one at the top there stopping anything from popping out, and one at the bottom made of metal as well. So that's another fail for the DeWalt really. But back to magazine capacity. I'm getting a bit carried away, got sidetracked there. So don't believe everything you read. The maximum I can get into this is 60, this one 56, this one 52. So full points to the DeWalt for that. But what do you reckon? Should I take one off for this thing all being plastic? I mean, that's shit. The bit that's pushing on metal all the time is only plastic. I'll give it full points for now. Before we go any further, I need to tell you that all 3 of these tools are made for the New Zealand market, which means none of them have the bump fire or rapid fire mode. It's illegal here. I can't test that particular function. If you're waiting for that particular function to be included in the test, it will never happen, I'm afraid. Power button on the back here, very simple, power on, ready to go. The Hikoki. The power button for this is in an awkward position. It is down here in the handle. So you hold your finger on that for a couple of seconds and on it goes. Now the DeWalt. This will be a feature that many guys like, I'm sure. Once the battery's on, it is live. You don't need to turn it on. It's just ready to go all the time. That is very good. It's perhaps a little bit dangerous, but it's very handy because you don't have to... Sometimes you pick this thing up and you go to use it and shit, the damn thing's turned itself off. And you've got to get your finger in there and start her up again. Whereas that's all ready to go all the time. But... as you will hear shortly, these two don't do that. So for ease of turning on, we're going DeWalt, Milwaukee, no points. Belt hooks and rafter hooks, that sort of thing. Are they any good on any of these? Well, they're all quite different. I don't know if I'll give any points. The Milwaukee has a belt clip on the left and a rafter hook on the other side. Now they're not interchangeable, they have a different screw system, so they're not the same shape. The Hikoki has a clip on the left side here, but it has exactly the same threads and screw, so you can screw it on the other side. You can also get bigger, some countries seem to come with different clips, so you can get bigger rafter clips than that. The DeWalt has this plastic one that swivels around and locks into several positions. You can have it on the left, on the right, or it folds around over the top of the features down here, which we'll get to later. I don't like this system. I find it seems to keep getting in the way, whereas these ones don't get in the way. They fold away better. This, when you're using the tool, is always sticking out somewhere and it annoys me. So I won't give any points for that, that's just letting you know what those are like. Personally, I think the Hikoki is probably the best though, because you can stick it on either side and you have multiple different ways of doing it, and it does fold up. Other features that they have, the DeWalt has a trigger lock, as does the Hikoki. The Milwaukee has nothing else apart from a power button and a trigger. That's all you got really. The Hikoki also has a battery indicator in here, which I never use. I mean, the batteries have got the indicators on them now. And you would also change from sequential to rapid or bump fire mode there if you weren't living in New Zealand. Now on the DeWalt though, you may have noticed it says 2-speed. Down here we have 2 speeds, 1 and 2, and we also have this one which has 1 arrow and 2 arrows. Now I believe that changes the bump fire if you're not in New Zealand, but down in this part of the world you have power settings. So basically you would have it on 1 for short nails and 2 for longer nails, anything over about 70 mil. And this just ramps up how fast the tool can fire nails, which we will get to when we're using them. Now already that annoys me. I know some people are going to think that's good, but you don't have to do anything like that with these, they just go. They will of course have a depth gauge guide on the front, which we will look at later, and we will also look at the noses and how good they are for getting into corners and that sort of thing. We'll do that after we do some power tests. The DeWalt also has this extra little doohickey on the top here. Now the other two don't have it because they don't need it. This is to reset the spring when this thing packs a SAD. And from what I've done so far, it likes to pack a SAD. So if it can't fire a nail in properly and it doesn't get to reset itself, you've got to manually do it with this before it will let you fire. And sometimes you've got to take the battery off. It'll tell you with this light flashing down here. It's a bit of a pain. They're all loaded up with a full clip. They've all got freshly charged batteries, and we are ready to go. 6 amp hour, 6 amp hour, 5 amp hour. I don't have a 6 amp hour Hikoki, complain below. Alright, let's do it. We're going to fire a whole clip into a pine post. We'll see how many are left after the tool's lockout. They have a lockout feature that stops you from dry firing, and that leaves a few nails in the end. So we'll fire until that locks out. We'll count how many nails are left, and we'll dish out some points. Whoever has the most nails left when the lockout kicks in is going to lose 1 point. I don't think battery life will be a problem with the tests I'm going to do, but you never know. You can get a hell of a lot of nails fired with these things with one battery charge. So for that little test, I'm going to give points for speed, which one was quickest getting all those nails in, and which one looks the prettiest, i.e. which nail gun hasn't damaged the timber the most, and which one felt the most comfortable. But first, the lockout. How many nails are left in these 3 tools? Remember, whoever's got the most is going to lose a point. Safety first, batteries off. 7 in the Milwaukee. We have 6, 8 in the Hikoki. And we have, pull it all the way back, 6, 8 in the DeWalt. So instead of taking a point off each of those, I think I'll give a point to the Milwaukee. That also means in the test you just watched, the Milwaukee fired 1 extra nail than the other 2. Now let's go have a look at that piece of wood. So looking at our test area here, I can see that the DeWalt had the best finish, didn't mark the timber as much as the Hikoki, and the Milwaukee's sort of in between, so full points for DeWalt, then Milwaukee, none for Hikoki on that score. DeWalt are definitely out of their depth when it comes to the depth, and as for the other 2, it is very close. I'm thinking maybe the Milwaukee just. So we'll go 3 points, 2 points, no points when it comes to depth. All of the firing I've done so far has been with the depth set to its full depth as well on all 3 tools. When it comes to the tip and getting into tight places, the Hikoki is the worst. It's basically just not long enough, this area here. I'm sure on the next iteration of this tool they will sort that out. It grips well on an angle, but this is too flush along this way. This needs to protrude more. And at first glance the Milwaukee looks pretty similar, but it does grip well just like the Hikoki, probably a little bit better. These side ones out quite wide are quite helpful for getting in on real sharp angles. And it does protrude a bit more than the Hikoki. Is it better than the DeWalt? The DeWalt protrudes the most, and that is very helpful for doing nailing like that. You can just push it down and bang. Unfortunately, it's a bit noisy. That motion I just did then you can't even do with the Hikoki. You need to tilt the Hikoki up to get it to go in, so that is an advantage. But these are way too slippery, not as good as the Milwaukee. So I think I'm gonna have to give it to the Milwaukee just, followed by the DeWalt. I hope you're keeping track of the points. When it comes to lights, only one of these has a light, and it is the Milwaukee. But I'm not going to give it any points because it's pretty useless. Here's where you're firing the nails, the light's back here. Not all that helpful. Which one sits the nicest? That sits fine like that, has sort of a little foot down near the battery there for it to sit like that. Can't sit like that. The Hilti one sits really nice like that. Depends where you have your hook to whether it sits nicely on the sides, but I mean they're all going to lay on their side. Milwaukee stands alright, not quite as stable as the DeWalt. Can you stand it like that? No. On its end? No. Hikoki sits the best like that, maybe. Maybe about similar to the DeWalt. You can sit it like that. It's flat on the front, so you can sit it like that. Bonus point to the Hikoki. Each of these tools has a timeout feature. When you depress the end, if you don't fire a nail in a certain length of time, it won't let you fire it. Now, I have found that very annoying with one of these tools, and one of them, it is very good. Now, the one that is very annoying is the Hikoki. You've got 3 seconds, if that, to get your nail fired after your tip touches your bit of timber. So if you're trying to line something up, that can be really annoying. You can't sort of hold it in place with the nail gun while you sort yourself out. The DeWalt, you're looking at about 5 seconds, so a little bit better, but the Milwaukee is somewhere around the 12 to 15 second mark. So you've got plenty of time to line up your shot, wiggle it around, tap it in place so that you make sure you get it perfect before you pull that trigger. So, bonus point for the Milwaukee. If you've been paying attention and counting along at home, you'll know now that 2 of these tools are neck and neck and one is 4 points behind. But which one is it? Time for some torture testing. I'm going to fire these things until they can't go any deeper anymore, and we'll see which one packs the most punch. This is a Mora hardwood. We have the guns all loaded up with 90mm nails. I'm going to go through one layer first into pine. If they all do well, we'll chuck on another layer, and we're just going to keep making things harder just to see who can drive the deepest. Another 3 points to Milwaukee by the looks, 2 to Hikoki. With another layer on. I'm now chucking 40mm of calophyllum on top. So our nails have to go through the 40mm of calophyllum, 32 of Amora, and then into another piece of Amora. Well, Milwaukee was definitely the winner, but as for second, wow, the DeWalt did a lot better than I thought it was going to. That one we'll call a bit of an anomaly, but I think the DeWalt still did better, I think. Hang on a minute. Bit inconsistent. They're a bit more even, but not quite as deep. I'm going to give 3 to the Milwaukee and 1 each to the other two. Right, what have we got that's going to be a challenge here? I don't think VIDS is going to be any better. Got some aqua here. Got a piece of Queeler under there, but I don't fancy getting all that timber out. There's some teak somewhere. Oh, I think I might have some Queeler outside. Oh, there's Queeler there, but they're all rather thin. This is for bragging rights. 5 layers of 19mm thick Queeler. Can any of them get through all of that? Well, that was an interesting result. I was very surprised by the DeWalt. I didn't think it was going to have a hope. And yeah, pleasantly surprised. The Milwaukee, of course, took it out again. There's maybe a lot of differences in that timber because very inconsistent. The harder the timber's got, the more inconsistent these tools have gotten. But the Milwaukee has been the most consistent overall and smashed it, especially once I stuck the 12 amp hour battery on. Once that 12 amp hour Milwaukee was on, the nails got sunk below the surface. So that round clearly goes to Milwaukee, 3 points, DeWalt 2 points, Hikoki, bum bum. The Hikoki was very inconsistent on that test. Whilst chatting to someone and talking about nail guns, as you do, played around with the depth gauge and found that the Hikoki actually fires deeper when it's not on its full depth, into this hardwood anyway. Full depth, and then I adjust it and they go in deeper. Interesting. Now, I haven't used this in any of the testing on the lower settings. This has a spring thing in here that needs to be replaced. I'm not sure how often, every 10, 12,000, something like that, nails. Not sure. If you've got one of these, tell me down below how often you have to change that thing. Anyway, I'll show you what happens when you have it on the lower speed and you try and drive large nails. Basically what DeWalt have done is they you putting 2 speeds in this to try and preserve the tool because it's going to wear out quicker than these two. They want you to use the lower speed if you can get away with it. If you're using short nails, use the lower speed. When you put it up onto bigger nails, crank it up into the higher gear so that you don't damage the tool too much. There's warnings all through the manual about it, and I think that personally is a fail. They're not confident in this tool really being up to the task. I much prefer just one setting, nice and simple, bang, fires them in, good and proper. On the low setting. But there's also that other company that hasn't got one on the bench yet. Do you think Makita are ever going to make a nail gun? Are they going to make a 40 volt nail gun? Is they going to come into the market ahead of these guys? These are all still 18 volt, even though you may see 54 on the battery and 36 on this one. They're 18 volt tools. Are Makita going to come out with a 40 volt one that can hit just that tiny little bit harder? We'll have to wait and see, I guess. What do you reckon? Tell me down below. Which one of these nail guns do you have? Which one do you hate? Which one do you love? Tell me down below. I'm sounding like I'm about to wrap up this video, but we haven't done our numbers yet, have we? Let's take a look at the leaderboard. So because these two don't need servicing, I'm going to give them both a bonus point. Having just looked at the footage, I can see that the fastest one was the Hikoki, so 3 points there, and the other two pretty damn close, so I'm going to give them one each. And the last points I think I'll dish out will be for recoil. The recoil was kind of hard to judge because it changed depending on the material, what I was nailing into, lengths of nails, that sort of thing. So it was a bit iffy. Particularly with these two, they changed quite a bit depending on what I was doing. So 3 points again to the Milwaukee. And I think Hikoki second. This one just bounces around in some weird ways sometimes. I don't know if that's because of the spring and that inside it and the fact that it's a bit lighter. This also has that fan that you hear running all the time, which is annoying, and it, especially if you're filming a video. And it also has that sort of gyroscopic, like when you're using an angle grinder, when it's running, it's sort of woo. Not that that's got any results on points or anything. And not that I'm going to give a point, but this one stays on a lot longer than this one, so when you pick it up, you don't have to worry about it turning itself off like this one often does. But I don't think the Milwaukee needs any bonus points, so we won't give anything for that. Oh, just realised I was going to do some of these. These are full round head, as you can see, and they have this weird plastic webbing between them to hold the nails apart because of the heads. The one nails I've been using are standard clipped head nails, or D nails. They have that side cut off so that they can go in the nail gun nice and tight together like that. You can also get full round head nails like this that are offset, as you can see. The centre of the nail's not in the centre of the head, but if you want that round head look, that's what those are good for. This one says clipped and full head nails. This one says clipped and full head nails. This one just says clipped for some reason. So let's just test if they will fire these all right, especially with this webbing in between, whether that breaks off nicely and pushes through. We'll do a quick test of that, then I'll wrap this up. So none of them had a problem with that. Now, I haven't given you the model numbers, have I? The DeWalt is the DCN695, the Hikoki is the NR1890 DBCL, and the Milwaukee the M18FFN. So who is the winner? Let's reveal the board behind. It's a bit of a thrashing. As you can see, the Milwaukee cleaned up. Wasn't even close. While testing these tools, I noticed that whenever I needed to just tack things in place for tests and stuff like that, this was the one I always grabbed. This is a really good nail gun. I have a couple of tiny issues with it. The first being weight. It is the heaviest. Hopefully the next generation they will improve this technology and get it a little bit lighter. I was hoping that it would be lighter than the Hikoki, seeing as they had a bit more time to work it out and to modify the Hikoki. But that said, it is a great tool still. I prefer the power button on the back to the Hikoki. I like that it doesn't make any noise like the DeWalt does. I like that you don't have all the stupid settings like the DeWalt does. So the numbers on the board reflect exactly how I like these tools. Milwaukee, Hikoki, DeWalt. So I filmed most of that review a couple of weeks ago, and after using the tools more, I am going to take a couple of points off DeWalt and give them to Hikoki in regards to the power tests, especially that one we did at the end there. So those numbers may not quite work out in the video exactly right now, but that is my final result, and that's more fitting of, I think, how these tools place against each other, with the Milwaukee clearly ahead, and then the Hikoki clearly in second, and the DeWalt clearly last. At the beginning, I didn't think the DeWalt would actually do as well as it has in the tests, and it does do some odd things. Every now and again you get nails that just don't want to go anywhere and stuff. It's a little bit, it's not as consistent. This has been the most consistent by a long shot of any of the nailers that I've used. So yeah, it's a really good tool. Hopefully it lasts. I didn't mention that all of them need a Allen key to get the front open if you have a jam or anything. The Milwaukee one you can see just there. The DeWalt one is also on board. The Hikoki is not. If I didn't also mention, they are 30 to 34 degree nailers. That's the angle that the nails are on. And for those who keep asking, I now have the adapter, so next time we do a 36 volt Hikoki tool, we can check it running on power as well as batteries. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like these sort of videos, I've got a few more coming up, and there's a few more down in the description and up in the corners and all that stuff at the end when the little screens come up. You can see behind me there which ones we have done so far. Let me know what other tools you want to see up against each other from the 4 brands, or in this case 3 brands, but hopefully we'll try and do it with 4 each time. I wanted to see how the nail guns went against each other, and I couldn't wait for Makita any longer to come out with one. So Milwaukee is the winner today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on another one soon. Yeah, done.